Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Jama and I'm going to be doing a tutorial on this look right here today. Everything is completely drugstore. It's extremely affordable and I tried to use the cheapest products possible. I know that there's been a lot of requests for this video, so I hope it lives up to the hype. I'll have everything listed down in the description box below, and if you don't mind, go ahead and give me a like and subscribe to my channel. I would really appreciate it. And let's just go ahead and get into the video. Alright, so I just have some banana clips pinning back my hair, and the first thing that I always do is prime my face. Now, it just depends on kind of how my skin is doing, but for drugstore, this Angel Veil primer by NYX is so good. You can get it at Ulta, you can get it at Walmart. It's just very smoothing, and it's not one that, I guess, fills in all your pores, but it makes your texture look a lot smoother. I just get a little bit and just put it on like a moisturizer. The next thing I try to do is cover up my dark circles because it's allergy season, COVID season, whatever you want to call it now. But I use this Correction Concentrate Brightening Peach by Pixi, and you can get this at Target. It is a little bit more on the expensive side, but I think it's worth it, especially if you have dark circles or if you have veins underneath your eyes like I do, because that peach is really gonna correct any sort of blues or purples that you might have. I just tap that in with my finger. Okay, so then I'll go straight into foundation. Actually, let me go ahead and prime my eyes first. While I'm thinking of it. So this is the e.l.f. Putty Eye Primer, and I've only been using this for a little bit, but it seems to do the job. It's a lot like the MAC paint pots, which I've used for years and years. So I put a little bit of my setting spray by Morphe in here because it is very like textured. Hey Porter. He found one of his toys today, so he's really excited. But I put a little setting spray in there since I felt like it was extremely hard textured and was a little bit more difficult to move around. So this just kind of like made it a little bit easier to do that. So now that I have that on there, I am going to use this Covergirl Clean and Matte BB Cream. Now this is for oily skin. I really don't have oily skin, but I'm extremely impressed for summer. Like, this is so good. The coverage is good. It doesn't have sunscreen in it, so if you are going to take pictures, there's not going to be any sort of flashback from the SPF. I'm just really impressed by this, and I think that you should go get it. I got this on sale at Ulta for $6.99. And then I'll just put a little dollop on the back of my hand and get all the cat hair. Porter. Go over here and get all the cat hair off of my e.l.f. sponge. This e.l.f. sponge I think is like $5 or $6. This is my favorite sponge over Beauty Blender, over the Real Techniques. This is so good, and yeah, you should get it. So I'm just gonna dab it in there. And start just lathering it on. Now, recently I've really gotten into the more natural looking foundation instead of full coverage matte, because my favorite drugstore foundation, and honestly probably my favorite foundation ever, is the Maybelline 24/7. It's like, I don't think it's Stay All Day, but it's with the white cap. I can't think of it right now. But for a lighter look but still having good coverage, this is unbeatable. I wore this one day on the lake and it stayed on, and it was raining that day. And it's not so matte where it makes you look cakey. It's just a good coverage, and then since it's BB cream, it's still hydrating as well. Oh, and a disclaimer, if you see me picking at my face, it's because there's probably a cat hair on it, and I can't see it, but I can feel it, and so it'll drive me nuts until I get it off. For concealer, I use this Makeup Revolution Conceal and Define. Now, this is probably the most comparable thing to Tarte Shape Tape that is on the market right now, I would say. I know the e.l.f. Concealer is also really comparable. I personally didn't like it. It looked too dry on my eyes. But this coverage-wise is so good, and it still has a little bit of hydration when you need it. And I prefer this over Shape Tape anymore. So I'm going to go in with C10. This is pretty close to my skin tone. And I'm just going to put a little bit of 4.5 over it to kind of make that highlighting effect. And I'll put it closer to the inner corner and closer to my cheek. Throw a little on the chin, because why not? And the nose. Now, one of my favorite tricks that I have learned, and I owe this to TikTok, is I'll take my setting spray on my sponge and just hit it. Kind of pounce it in my hand and let it dry. And then I just go in and start pouncing. Now, this concealer does a really good job of staying smooth, I feel like, and not having a lot of lines, but that extra little step of hitting with that setting spray on the sponge, hit the nose, and the chin. So now for under my eyes, I'm just going to take my sponge. I use my sponge for pretty much all of my powders besides the blush, bronzer, and highlighter. I'm taking this CoverGirl Advanced Radiance. I found this off of Tati's YouTube channel. She uses it under her eyes, and she's absolutely right. It just makes everything a little bit more smooth, but not cakey, and more like a youthful glow, I feel like, if a powder can do that. But I just use a little bit because you don't want to get too cakey under there. And then for just my setting powder, I'll go in with the Maybelline Fit Me. Sorry, this looks rough. In shade 222, and just kind of swirl my sponge around there. I don't want a lot because this is more of a full coverage, and I don't want to get cakey. But I just try to hit everything that I can, and then I'll take just a duo fiber brush and I'll bring it down on my neck just to make sure everything is kind of blended seamlessly. Always bring your foundation down on your neck in case you didn't know. Oh gosh. Do y'all ever forget if you have like something on the back of your hand and then you just go about like you don't and it's everywhere? Yeah, that just happened. And most of the time after I put the powder on my face, I'll hit it with setting spray, so let me do that. And this is the Morphe Continuous Setting Mist. I mean, honestly, you can't really beat it in my opinion. It just makes everything blend in together, and I always try to hit it 2 or 3 times before I do the final spray. Okay, while that is drying, so I just ran and grabbed this e.l.f. Lift Brow Pencil. I can't remember if this is like $1 or $3, but this is so good, especially when I am on the run, like just wanting to do it really quick on like a no makeup day. It is a little bit more chunky, and it does not look as natural as one of the finer pencils would, but I still love this and I use it all the time. I'm sorry if you hear noise. That is most likely my upstairs neighbors. Not a fan. Very noisy. I will say this is in the shade Taupe, but it's a little bit more warm, and that's why I don't really use it a lot, because it's got a lot of red undertones in it. And then I'm just gonna take a flat brush. This is by Morphe, and I'm just gonna run it underneath and above. And I always kind of hit this outer part too, because I hate having blocky looking brows. I did that for the longest time, and I was like, oh man, my brows look so good. I'm just not a fan, so that's why I always try to make it look a little bit more natural now. Next, I will set them with some gel. This is the Pixi Natural Brow Duo, so this does have a pencil if you're wanting to do that. I wasn't a huge fan. It was kind of dry, so it was hard to use, but their brow gel is good. It's like cement, so I just run it through, and it's colored, so it kind of helps. That's brows. Okay, so we'll go ahead and go into bronzing next, and I think this is everyone's favorite. If you don't have this, this is probably the thing I would recommend the most to go get, just because they have so many shades now, and it smells amazing. It is amazing. I can't say enough good things. So I'm just gonna hit my temples. And I am honestly a little bit too dark for this shade right now, so I'm gonna go in with my matte bronzer and kind of hit the spots that need it. I always just go in my chimples. I'm gonna start calling myself when I have like a double chin, chimples. I always just hit my temples, my forehead, and then kind of where I'd put blush on my cheek, because once you put the contour in and then the blush on top, it's really gonna help blend everything in together. So my darker bronzer that I've been using is this Makeup Revolution Mega Bronzer in 02 Warm. So we're just gonna grab this. It reminds me a lot of like how the Chanel bronzers look, but I really keep this far back. I don't want to bring it in too far past my eye, like halfway past your eyeballs. Way too much on contour, blush. That's gonna bring all the attention to your cheeks, and if you're wanting that high cheekbone look, that's not gonna help, because it's gonna accentuate your cheeks instead of your cheekbones. Oh, and then I always take it underneath too, especially those of you that have like not much of a jawline like myself. It kind of helps make a shadow to make it look a little bit more out there, I guess, but just really make sure you're blending it in. Okay, and for contour, taking this little brush, tapping it in that same matte bronzer, get the cat hair off the brush, you know the routine, and I'm gonna tap right by my ear, and you can find your cheekbone, and then you want to pull it back. You don't want to go forward, because that's gonna kind of bring everything forward. You want everything snatched like a facelift, so that's why you want to pat and move back. And you don't want to drag it, because that can also drag around your foundation as well. And see, I'm not really going past my eye at all. I'm keeping it very short. And same thing on the other. So now I'm gonna go in and nose contour. I've got this Morphe, it looks like an airbrush kind of brush, and I'm gonna hit my nostrils, pretty much just the bottom right there of the nose. That's gonna kind of give it a little bit more lifted effect. And then just barely hit the sides. And then I always go over the bridge just a little bit, because that also helps kind of make it look more button nose like, in my opinion. Next up is blush, and I've literally had this blush since my freshman year of college, so 6 years ago. This is the Milani Luminoso Baked Powder Blush, and this is one of the best blushes that I've ever used. And as you can see, it lasts a long time. I don't use it that much anymore because I love Tarte blushes, but this is still so pretty, and it's just got like a really pretty gold glow. So I'm also just gonna tap this in right on my cheekbone instead of underneath it. It's a very like light pink cool tone, which is perfect for summer, but it's also really good if you have more fair skin as well. And see, it kind of has like that natural glow in it. Now for highlighter, this Wet n Wild Mega Glow Highlighting Powder. So good. This is in the shade Precious Petals. I would definitely say it's more of like a champagne color, but it's got a little bit of pink, a little bit of gold in there, so it's kind of, it can help everyone's skin tone. And then I'm taking this e.l.f. brush and just dipping it in. And then just right on top of that cheekbone, almost like in a half moon kind of deal. Crescent moon, half moon. And the other side. Okay, and then I'll just lightly hit my nose. And kind of right above the eyebrows. I'm gonna go ahead and spray my face again. Okay, and while that's setting, I'm going to pull out my used and abused Jaclyn Hill palette. I feel like most people will either have access to this palette or do have this palette. So I'm gonna go ahead and go in with this transition color right here. I'm so sorry for how dirty this is. And just kind of start going above my crease with it and in my crease. And I'm going to take this shade right here. It's more of a red toned brown. And I'm gonna kind of pat it in the corner, and then I'm gonna go over my whole lid and in the crease. And just really buff it out. I'm gonna take a smaller version of this brush. These are both by Morphe, and I just have to say, these are probably the best blending brushes I've ever used. And I always tell people that ask me about makeup, like, oh, what should I get? What should I do? The best thing that you can do is to invest in your tools, such as your brushes, because it's a lot like playing sports, I guess. Like, you're not gonna wanna hit a softball with a golf club. Like, certain brushes are best for certain things, and the better quality they are is also going to help you in the long run as well, as in longevity and just pay off with the product. But for the price, like, you cannot beat these. This is a M504 and this is an M505. So out of all the brushes I've used today, I recommend these two. I am going to go in with this brown right over here. And I'm gonna keep it in my corner and not go above the crease, but still work in circular motions and windshield wiper motions. I'm just gonna go back over it one more time and blend. That's like one of the most important things about eyeshadow is you gotta blend it out as much as possible. You don't want any harsh lines or anything like that. I'm gonna keep it pretty natural today, so I don't think I'm gonna go any darker, but I am going to take a pencil brush and hit the bottom with that same deeper brown red color. And that's one thing you can also do to kind of help I guess, make your eyes pop a little bit more and make it look like you put more effort into it is just always making sure that you have some eyeshadow on your lower lash and that it connects to the upper shadow. Okay, and for liner, I am going to go in with an eyeshadow actually, and I'm gonna do this darkest brown shade that's in the palette. And on this Morphe like flat eyeliner brush. But eyeshadow as a liner has become like one of my favorite things recently just because of how more natural it looks. And if you're wanting to make it look just a little bit more smoky, I'm gonna tightline my top waterline with this Pixi by Petra Endless Silky Eye Pen in, I believe it's brown. Black cocoa, so it's a little bit of brown. When you wear lashes, this is really gonna help if you tightline that top lash line, just because it's gonna really get in to your lash band and it's gonna help conceal that fake lash band even more. It's gonna make your lashes look thicker too, especially if you don't use fake lashes and you put on mascara afterwards. I'm gonna do this part off camera, but I'm just gonna talk about L'Oreal Telescopic mascara. This is really good if you have longer lashes. They're definitely gonna give you the more like lash extension look, but if you don't have a lot of lashes or your lashes aren't super long, I really wouldn't recommend this just because there's not a lot of volume in this mascara. So that can also hurt when you don't have a lot of lashes to begin with. Okay, so now that I have a light coat of mascara on, I'm gonna go ahead and do my lips while the mascara is drying before I do my lashes. One of my favorite lip liners is Ever by NYX. I probably have 3 at all times just because I go through them so fast. It's just a really good darker nude shade, and when you're using a nude lip, you want a liner that's just a little bit darker so it looks more natural and it kind of blends everything together, especially if you overline your lips like I do. So I'm gonna take a mirror right here and hit underneath my lip first. And then I'm gonna slowly overdraw my top lip. Okay, and then I'm gonna take this Morphe liquid lipstick in the shade Virgin. Let it dry, and while it's drying, I'm gonna clean up my lines real quick. Okay, now that that's dry, I'm gonna hit it with this Shine lipstick by L'Oreal. I don't even know like what it's called. I just know the shade is Baddest Beige, and I just hit the center of my lip. With it. And that just kind of gives it a little bit more of a pout and a little bit of gloss that I really don't like glosses. So this kind of helps me with that if I am wanting a bit more of a shine on my lips. Now for the last thing, we're gonna go into lashes, and I can do a whole video on how to apply lashes the best way. But for today, I'm gonna use these Ardell Naked Lashes in 422, and I have actually already used this pair before, so I don't have to worry about cutting them or shaping them to my eye or anything. And then I use the Kiss lash adhesive in the tube because it's a lot easier to brush it on that way and a lot more easy to control. I'm just gonna hit this, and I get the clear kind too. If you're doing a darker look, then you could go for the black, but I think the clear is the easiest to work with. And this specific one has aloe in it, so it also helps condition your actual lashes. And the trick is to let them get tacky. You don't want to put them on right away. And I just use tweezers. And while I'm letting that sit, I'm gonna hit my face one more time with the setting spray. Kind of the last hurrah here. I really love these lashes just because of how thin the lash band is, and they look a lot like lash extensions. They're just really wispy and look very natural for being a fake lash. And that's what we want most of the time, especially with a simple look like this. So I'm just gonna look down. And you can tell just like a difference that it makes. I'm not saying you have to use lashes, but if you're wanting to look a little bit nicer or do something a little bit extra, they're worth it. And I think these were like $4 maybe. And I've gotten, this will be my third use out of them, I guess. Okay guys, and then the last thing I do is I'm gonna take that dark brown eyeshadow again with that same brush, and I'm just gonna go over the lash band. To help conceal it. And that's it. Okay guys, and this is the finished product for my affordable drugstore makeup look that I would recommend to all of you guys and trying out if there was some drugstore products that you were interested in. I hope that you're all doing well, and I hope you have the best week this week, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.